Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Robin, for joining us tonight. It's a privilege for me to be sitting here with Robin, with such an inspiring leader. And I can tell you, I know Robin quite well by now, as I am a board member at Bank of New York. He's board for almost 2 years now, so I can tell. We talked about Walmart, and we met Doug, and he was here, and I learned.
It's tough to make me follow Doug McNaughton,
I know,
by the way.
I know,
That's
but
a bit rough.
we have one thing
If you were a better
that
board member, you would make me go before him.
we are much, much, much older than them.
True.
So I learned today from Doug that Walmart is a 63-year-old organization that was founded by Sam Walton. And I can tell you about BNY, that BNY is 241-year-old bank that was founded by Alexander Hamilton.
The now famous Alexander Hamilton.
Yep, and is the first company to be traded in New York Stock Exchange. So at least that, okay? We start there. Since Robin became CEO of the bank, he has led an amazing, amazing transformation. Tripling the bank market cap in 3 years. It's a phenomenal number. This transformation was recognized as the world's best bank transformation for 2025. So we are very proud. And don't forget that this is all in the midst of the AI revolution, which is a big challenge for large incumbents like BNY. So let's start.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk.
First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for being seriously a terrific board member. It's been really exciting. I mean, you've executed one of the greatest transformations of a bank that has been seen over the course of the past 20 years. And so the opportunity to have that input into what we're doing has been incredibly valuable. And obviously, we're proud of what we're doing. It's really been a team effort. And we have an incredible leadership team who've really been driving this transformation. So I'm excited about what it is that we're doing, but very excited to be here with all of you. So thank you again.
Thank you. So, Robin, when I sit at the board and I watch how you have been orchestrating this transformation, the vision, the leadership, the culture change, the innovation, and how you have been blending them all together to drive results, I'm simply amazed. Simply amazed. So before we dive in, if you could please share with us, what are you most proud of so far?
Well, I'm most proud of the team that we've assembled and the team that's really executing on this vision. But let me just take you back for one moment in terms of what we walked into as a leadership team. You talked about the fact that BNY, as we're now known, is 241 years old. And what had happened over that period of time is there had been a set of businesses which had been accumulated. We have a terrific set of businesses. And we had a terrific client franchise. But somehow along the way, we had stumbled in terms of how we really got the best out of all those businesses, how we organized ourselves, how we went to market with our customers. But we had some of the most important things that you need in an amazing business. We had a desire to innovate. We had a great set of businesses. We had a really terrific client franchise. And we're almost ubiquitous in the financial system. And so that trusted, broadly understood set of capabilities was a huge asset, but we'd not organized ourselves appropriately. And so the first thing we did was we stepped back, we understood what we had, we saw the potential, and we brought a belief to the company about what we could do, and then really wrapped that with culture. And so we've embarked on a series of different elements of transformation. We've had to change our whole go-to-market structure. We call that our commercial model. We've had to change our whole operating model. We call that our platforms operating model, because we've sort of imagined and taken a leaf out of the book of the technology industry in terms of how we organize ourselves. And then we've wrapped that with culture. And so through that, we've seen a pathway to be able to do significantly more with clients and to be able to grow the business. And then, of course, then came along AI.
So you're mostly proud about the team and the people.
I'm proud about the team. I'm proud about the work that we've done so far. We're not quite at 3 times, but almost. And it's not a small endeavor. We are the best performing large bank in the United States in share price terms in the past 3 years, which clearly is an important thing to have done. But I'm proud of the team and the people and the fact that we put culture first in our transformation. And I think that is something that people sometimes miss in firms. And I know Doug has sort of thought very similarly about Walmart.
Right.
Putting people and the employees and the customers at the very heart of the transformation. And so we put customers and our employees together at the heart of our transformation. It's made a huge difference. And so we talk in our company, culture allows us to run our company really well, and that allows us to be more for our clients. And that, to us, is the magic recipe. So by definition, it's people that is the thing that I'm most proud of, because that's the thing that's driven the change.
So let's take it from here and say that transformations are about people and culture. This is what you're saying. And there is no question about that the real challenge is never the technology. It's always the human tendency to resist change. And as you mentioned, when I led a transformation, aggressive transformation at Bank Leumi, we faced enormous internal resistance. But back then, we had a very clear vision. We knew where we are going. We had a technical roadmap, and the tools existed. So it was tough, but at least the journey was clear. Now with AI, we can't even paint a picture of where we are going. You can, and certainly you don't have a clear technical roadmap to where this is all going. So if it was tough for us back then, it's much tougher now. So my question is, how do you bring along your 50,000 employees, and 50,000 is nothing today because Doug had 2.2 million, but your 50,000 employees still, to be part of this journey, to come along, even though the journey is into the unknown in a way?
Well, my first real epiphany moment with AI was when I watched a YouTube video of Elon Musk narrating the iteration from Autopilot 11 to Autopilot 12. And some of you probably have seen that video, but for me, it was a very important moment. And obviously for Tesla, it was an important moment because it was the time that they moved from a real rules-based heuristics training to actually a learned experience in the car, using all of the data and the foresight that they'd had to accumulate all the telemetry and all the data and all the drives so that they could essentially teach the new model. And it was at that point for me that there's something very similar about so many processes which are rules-based, if this, then that, do that, learned experience associated with humans, where we mix wisdom, which often isn't wisdom, it's just an accumulated set of experiences. And when I saw that video, I really saw the opportunity to be able to teach a model, to be able to navigate through things. And that was, for me, the code red moment that it was going to change the world. So that was about 3 years ago. It was roughly in line with the ChatGPT moment, although that was a little bit coincidental. And I, at that time, decided that we were not going to bet the company on AI, but we were going to bet that if we didn't very holistically embrace AI, we were going to be in trouble. And as we talk about at the board, I think in this day and age, you have to get AI roughly right. And if you get it wildly wrong, it's an existential threat. And so with that as the framing, we really committed ourselves to it. But there are multiple different paths that one can use for AI in terms of adoption. And over the course of the past year, as I've seen the technology, and we've all seen the technology speed forward so quickly, and sort of the doubling of capability that approximately every 3 months in terms of what you can really do with AI, it became very clear that the limiting factor was not going to be the technology. And we could rebuild, and most companies could rebuild themselves today with some significant efficiency if they just use the technology of today, let alone the technology of 2 or 3 months from now or a year from now. And so with that learning, it became very clear to us that adoption was going to be the limiting factor. And so how quickly could we adopt it? How deeply could we adopt it? And so we came up with a very simple mantra, which is AI needed to be for everyone, everywhere, for everything. And we described AI to our people as a superpower. And I literally have stood on a stage multiple times saying, if I gave you the ability to fly, offered you the ability to fly, or the opportunity to be able to see through walls or to be able to jump over buildings, who would say no to that superpower? This is just the same thing. It's an intelligent superpower. Why would you deny yourself that ability? Why would you put yourself in a box, limiting yourself in terms of your ability to learn? And so by really calling out to our employees and saying, look, it's for everyone. We want everyone to have the benefit of this superpower. We've used the fact that culture right from the beginning has been part of our special sauce in our transformation, and we've really adopted the whole employee base as part of our journey. 99% of our people are onboarded onto our AI platform. That means that they've done the prerequisite hours of training to get on. We have 20,000 agent builders and active, half the company is fairly active in their use of AI in the system. We have digital employees, we have all sorts of things which we can talk more about. But the reason we've done that is not because I picked 2 or 3 big bets and say, let's do this in AI, although we've tried to do a little bit of that as well, but because we've made it ubiquitous in the company, and we've encouraged people, and we've created a no-fear culture around AI adoption. And we've said, as you pointed out, with 50,000 people, I would love us to be a company of twice the revenue with exactly the same number of people. I'd love to be 3 times the revenue with the same number of people. Slashing our employee base in half is not the objective of the exercise. The objective of the exercise is to be a bigger, more successful company. And so culture and keeping the employees wanting to use AI as a superpower, I think has been very important to our journey so far.
This morning we had a BNY Live with how many people were there?
It's our global town hall. I think I have the stats in my phone. I haven't seen them yet, but we probably had about 30,000 people live. So call it 60% of the company or thereabouts tuned in, and because they care.
And then Robin asked them, who is using AI? And just like everybody stood up. So it was unbelievable, really.
We are part of the 5% that isn't just in pilots, we're actually doing real things. Just to bring it to life for a second, we made a strategic decision 3 years ago to build our own AI platform, Eliza. It's named after Alexander Hamilton's wife. That is connected to all the large language models. So whether Google, AI, Anthropic, you name it, we're plumbed into all of them. But what it really is an agent building ecosystem. So it's multi-agentic capable, follows MCP, so you can plug other people's agents in. We can unplug agents from outside, from our environment outside as well. Because it's multi-agentic, we're encouraging our employees to both train their own agents to give them personal productivity, but maybe more importantly, to work and collaborate to train agents with particular skills, and then build what we call crews of agents, which are essentially pods of capability to go out and be able to do more complex tasks. And so we now we have digital employees that we've taken that concept and we've wrapped them with a login, we've wrapped that with an email, and so you can actually correspond with them through the traditional email systems. So we've tried to drop the boundaries between the way humans work and the way that AI works. So you don't even need to go to the chat entry, or you don't even need to go to code base in order to be able to start building. You can actually interact and say, hey, please, can you do this via email as well? And as a result, we have digital employees that do real things. So it's not just code assist. We do code remediation, autonomous code remediation. So we have digital employees that go through our code base autonomously, find vulnerabilities, propose solutions, put them into pre-production, a peer review, which is part of our standard process, and then push it through after the peer review. We have a digital employee that does payment repair. We're a large payment institution. We make about $3 trillion of payments every day. When the customer sends us a bad instruction, the digital employee proactively investigates the reason why the instruction's poor, and if it can, proactively remediates it without a human in the loop, fixes the problem, and actually releases it under the supervision, but not in the loop, of a human employee.
So as you just described, we use AI for streamlining, for better products, for more businesses. But I'd like to ask you about a different layer of AI. When we talk about digital transformation, we know that this is a new tech tool that replaces an old one or replaces a human. But when we think about AI, what does an LLM replace? We are very limited in thinking about it. And we all understand that it's going to be much, much more than streamlining and new products and new businesses. It's a bigger thing than that. And I'd like to understand or to ask you, how do you reimagine B&Y in that sense, the bigger sense?
So I view the world of AI investment as really being in three big buckets, and the vast majority of the focus has been on the first one so far. And so there are the AI model creators, the LLM creators, and they're almost themselves two flavors. There are the Anthropics and OpenAIs of the world, and then there are the hyperscalers. And it's going to be important to see how this evolves, but the hyperscalers have an advantage. They have an incredible cash flow from their traditional businesses that's going to fund their ambitions in AI. And so we'll see all of that, those folks duke it out. It's great that there are multiple choices. That's going to contain price. I think it's very important not to be in one of the walled gardens of any one of them, because if you get captive in the vertical silo to either the hyperscalers or the others and use only their agents, then you become quite vulnerable on price. That's why we built our own horizontal platform, so that we can essentially use any of them and frankly switch as well. Although agent training and switching models is still a slightly unresolved thing in the industry. So there's that bucket, and that's where so much focus, so much investment, so much value is being created. What you've been investing in at Team8 as well is this second bucket. We're very interested in this second bucket, which is entirely new businesses that are really built on top of those LLMs and those for that first bucket. And so these are the various different companies that are springing up, solving problems in particular ecosystems. And they've started by building an individual tool, an individual solution. I can think of several that have done this, and they seem fairly small and fairly modest. But when you actually abstract out what the capability that they've built is, it really is the ability to replicate an entire vertical. And so you may have examples where there are accounting sort of efficiency drives that have been created, and there are certain companies that have built themselves around that, fairly modest to start with, but there's absolutely no reason why they can't replicate the entire vertical stack of an accounting stack and really make completely redundant the enterprise software industry that's associated with that particular stack. And there are multiple examples of these. Of course, you've got the Code Assist with the Windsurfs and the Devons of the world, both cognition properties now, and there are a whole bunch of other multiple examples. And then this third bucket, which we belong in very squarely, and I think is the value that is not yet fully understood, it's hard to price in the marketplace, which is the application of AI, which is, as we think, a fairly attuned user of AI that cares a lot, that has access to both the first bucket capabilities and the second bucket tools. How can we use it to completely reinvent our company, not just from a process point of view, but to be able to build new things as well? And there's no real value, or at least not much, that's yet crept into the stocks associated with companies that are going to get that right. And if you just think about the efficiency, the positive operating leverage, either from more revenue or from expense savings that comes from doing that well, it's real value creation. If I told you that you could get 100 basis points of positive operating leverage in a bank over a long period of time, it doesn't sound like a lot. But if I tell you that the best in-class positive operating leverage for the decade of 2012 to 2022, which was JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley, was on average 150 basis points of positive operating leverage. And that defined best in-class whole company performance over a decade, inclusive of markets. Why wouldn't we be able to get 150 basis points just from AI over the decade? You pick your start date, 26, 27, 28, 29. You have to decide how quickly you can do it. But I could see a decade worth of 150 basis points of positive operating leverage being entirely plausible for a company that really embraces AI and uses it right. So that value creation and the multiple value creation that comes from that third bucket for traditional companies, whether it's a Walmart, whether it's a BNY, or whoever else gets it right, is such a big opportunity that I get very excited about it. But there are two reasons to do it. One is creating that value. The second is if you don't do it, you won't exist in pick your time period, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. We could debate the time period, but at some point, it's just not possible. There are things that we do today that used to cost us $1 to do that now cost us a penny to do. I challenge anybody to be able to compete with a business that can take 99% out of significant chunks of activity over time. Again, we're starting small, we're deploying, but I'm pretty excited about this, and I think it's very, very important to get it roughly right and to use it as an opportunity, as you said, Rakefet, around the opportunity to potentially get into new businesses or do new things. AI as a service is not something I would have conceived BNY to do 5 years ago, of course. But today, we have customers who actually want to buy AI services from us.
Yeah, we discussed it a bit. But, you know, we are talking about it now, but when you got the decision to go all the way with AI, it was not an easy decision. It was a bold decision because AI is a kind of technology that is changing rapidly and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you could say, well, let's wait and see how it plays out. But you didn't. So let's discuss this decision, especially from the capital market investor's perspective. How do they price this investment? Do you think we get value beside the core business?
So the scaling decision and the spend decision is really the key, because I think it's a sort of a strategic question about do you do it or do you not? And I just don't understand people even 3 years ago who were like, I'm just going to wait, let's see, because it was just seemed so clear to me, at least, that this was going to be a very important technology. Then the question becomes, how much do you spend on it and how quickly do you spend the money? And that is a little bit more situation dependent. We had the benefit of having already executed some of our transformation. So we had the tailwind of some success, which gave us more breathing room for the spend. We've been generating significant positive operating leverage through our other transformations, which have allowed us to be able to invest a little bit more in AI. But even so, we've been humble about the spend and recognizing that sometimes the first year or two of spend, you can misallocate it. So we've really lent into building the foundations, but we've been a little bit stingy with people in terms of what we let them go do in terms of external vendor spend. We've really concentrated them onto our own platform, which I think has ended up being the right decision. But yeah, that's important. I've also had the benefit, because so many of them are customers. This goes back to our core franchise. Just remember our stats. We custody $57 trillion worth of assets around the world. We are the #1 custodian. We are the #1 provider of collateral services, $3 trillion a day. We've got $3 trillion of wealth assets on our software platforms. We're a $2 trillion asset manager globally. We're the world's largest corporate trustee with $15 trillion worth of assets under trusteeship. We're the world's largest securities lender. The scale of the platforms, the data that we have, gives us opportunity to have a lot of engagement with big technology and small technology entrepreneurs. And I've spent a lot of time with the CEOs of a lot of AI companies, And just having them peek over the horizon for me for 6 months, 9 months forward, what will the world look like? That helped me make the decision. And I spoke to one, a name that you'd know instantly, who's got a long track record of developing some great user commercial consumer technology over time. And he said, with AI, the whole world is different, as you said earlier on. And the most important attribute you can have as a leader is mental agility. Because whatever strategy you think you've got, 3 months later, you might have to junk it and do something very different. So this ability to be agile, to test, to experiment, to lean in, to feed it, this is a very common, fail fast type of mentality, but it's difficult for big companies to actually do that. And so we've had to set up a special pod for AI, we've empowered it, we've centralized the build of the tech, but we've democratized the access to it. And so it's a collaboration model. What we did not do was give everybody in the company pots of money to say, go make AI amazing in your business. That we did not do. We gave one person a pot of money and we said, you build the tools and you partner with everyone in the company to help them make their businesses and functions great in AI. And that was an important decision because otherwise we would have blown through a lot of money and I think we would have wasted it.
Yep. I think we should end, and I want to end with quick fire round. Some questions that you are not used to be asked. So the first one is, what you have to choose, new phone or new sunglasses?
Oh, you know me well. You know the answer, sunglasses.
This one I knew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I coveted this pair of sunglasses you were wearing when we were together.
You like my sunglasses,
yeah, I did.
so this is why I...
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I went and bought a pair immediately.
That's true, but the second one I don't know the answer.
Okay.
So what is more annoying, in your opinion? AI errors or human errors?
Oh, human errors. I'm much more tolerant of the machines at this point.
I would guess that.
It's funny, yeah. I like on AI hallucinations. People sort of talk about, oh my God, we can't use AI; it hallucinates. It's like you ask your average person a question. If they know the answer, they'll tell you the answer. If they don't know the answer, half of them will just wing it and give you a bunch of nonsense. And they'll kind of hope that you don't really notice that they don't really know what they're talking about. That's human hallucination. And so, I don't know, I'm not being complacent about AI hallucination. It's a real thing, but it's not like we haven't seen it before. We see human hallucination all the time in the business environment.
So if we continue with AI hallucinations, so what is more stressful, in your opinion? Cyber attack or AI hallucinations?
I'm not even sure you need to tell me the alternative to cyber attack. Cyber attack is definitely the most stressful
The worst.
thing. Yeah, for sure. We spend a lot of time, effort, money, blood, sweat, and tears managing that, as you would expect us to.
Just for everybody to know, I don't know if Robin knows that, but my connection to Team8 started in a cyber attack. So, and this is the worst thing in the world for a CEO. I can testify. Okay, secret weapon, authentic leadership or bold bets?
I'm going to take a dodge here. I think you kind of have to do both, but I think authentic leadership buys you the space, the credibility, and the support to be able to take big bets.
Agree. Next big thing, tokenized assets or stable coins?
I view tokenized assets as a sort of stablecoins as sort of a version of tokens. It's tokenized money, but so tokenized assets because it's the umbrella and it's kind of the what's next.
Okay. And the last one, more likely to break first, legacy tech or legacy thinking?
Legacy thinking.
Thank you, Robin.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.